Thank you all for joining us today as we celebrate our veterans as Veterans Day approaches. Today we have the pleasure of being joined by Governor Scott Walker, Lieutenant Governor Rebecca Clayfish, Justice of the Wisconsin Supreme Court, commanders of our veteran service groups, the Board of Veterans Affairs, state and local elected officials, Major General Donald Dunbar of the Wisconsin National Guard, representatives of the UW System Board of Regents, and I'd also like to recognize Danny Day of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Senator Jared Petrowski, Senate Chair of the Veterans Committee, esteemed state legislators, the Assembly Chief Clerk, former state public defender Nick Charles, a Vietnam veteran, and former state Senator Dave Z, a Vietnam veteran, and all the members of the cabinet that are here today to honor our Vietnam veterans. Every year, the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs is honored to host a Veterans Day ceremony for our veterans at the state capitol. Beginning with the Civil War, Wisconsin has a proud history of men and women serving their country. Wisconsin veterans fought to combat evil in World War II. They slogged through the mud and snow fighting for democracy in Korea, and in the steamy jungles of Vietnam, they battled communist forces. In the deserts of the Middle East, they fought a determined enemy in a war without front lines, often returning home with life-altering injuries and experiences. This year, while we always make sure to thank and pay tribute to all our veterans from all service eras on Veterans Day, to commemorate the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, we have expanded our event to include displays and speakers from the Vietnam era. The history of this war is one we must never forget, and we must heed the lessons we learned there. What began as a conflict between communist North Vietnam and South Vietnam quickly escalated into a Cold War struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union. What started as an 8-week bombing campaign turned into a much longer conflict, dropping more bomb tonnage than the Allies dropped in all of World War II. The number of American troops grew. Men and women were fighting for democracy in the jungles or on the deltas of this faraway land. They witnessed horrific events, endured terrible conditions, and acted with honor and courage in spite of the situation they were in. I'd like to take a minute to tell you about just a few of the people in this room. They served in the air, on land, and at sea. While each has a unique story, the men and women who are sitting here have a common bond. Gordon Thayer earned a Silver Star as a pararescue member when the rescue helicopter was in the shot down and crashed landing. Airman Thayer continued his work to tend to and evacuate the wounded Army personnel while subjecting himself to intense hospital fire. James Moser, a scout sniper with the 7th Marine Regiment, did reconnaissance patrols along Laos and the Vietnam border and is a recipient of 2 Purple Hearts. Rajan Van served with distinction as an operations specialist, working with the Vietnamese people to bring livelihood to the areas affected by war. And there were those who served in the waters of Southeast Asia, like Mark Vogel, who was an E-3 seaman aboard the USS Sicily in the Gulf of Tonkin, inspecting Vietnamese junk boats for contraband. James Stewart of the U.S. Coast Guard was responsible for the maintenance, repair, and operations of navigation systems used by the U.S. and Allied forces in support of operations in Vietnam and Cambodia. Sadly, many of those who fought and survived returned to a nation that in many cases turned its back on them. Like Al Whitaker, when he returned to his alma mater, UW-Madison, after serving 7 years in the Air Force, was treated with disdain as he walked through the Memorial Union. Fortunately, time has brought perspective, and our country is proud of all of our servicemen and servicewomen. We honor our veterans as they return from service. Today, we pay tribute to these individuals and to all our veterans in Wisconsin. The men and women in this room and their stories remind us of the scars of battle. They remind us to thank our military personnel for putting themselves in harm's way and for the pain and suffering they may have endured. They remind us to think of the families of these men and women, their worry and anguish, and to be grateful for their sacrifice. And they remind us to remember those still missing and unaccounted. But we thank these men that are here with us today. This time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the President of the Vietnam Veterans of America, Wisconsin State Council. Please join me in welcoming Richard Lindbeck.
Good morning, veterans. Welcome, Governor. Harry and I crossed paths several times in my past career. We won't talk about it. All you veterans that are out here, thank you for coming. It's a great day. 50 years ago, Vietnam was the beginning of our careers, we might say. 50 years ago was when I enlisted. What I knew about Vietnam then was a place called Pt4. 1954. Were defeated by the Vietnamese. After I went to basic training, nobody talked about Vietnam. It wasn't anything on the agenda. When I got assigned to Oklahoma, we had one sergeant that had returned to Vietnam, and he told us very little about what was going on. The Defense Station had been lost. 1965, I got an order. I found out first. Hard to believe it was 50 years ago that we were started in what was going to be a 13-year war. This 50th anniversary will be until 2025. There will be ceremonies throughout the country, and I hope throughout the state, for that 25 years, 13 years that we've been involved in Vietnam. After I received my orders and went to Vietnam, the little training that we had at that time was basically what I got in the world's greatest command in my book, Strategic Air Command, because I learned how to take care of myself. Today we're here to honor veterans, not those that just passed, but all veterans, all wars. One thing that I learned recently, just because we took off our uniform, does not mean we're still not a veteran. We hung our uniforms up, put our medals and honors in our little box, put them away, thought, yes, we were veterans. You are a veteran and proud to be a veteran. You served your country. You served your country honorably, whether you like it or not. You've done what was told to do. Please wear your ribbons when you're out there in public. Let people know that you are still a veteran and be proud that you are a veteran. I am looking around this room and seeing veterans that are way above what I have. Mr. Wetzel, Medal of Honor, seen Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Hearts. They're all honorable medals that everybody has won. Sunday is the 230th anniversary, 238th anniversary of the Marine Corps. All you Marines out there, Semper Fi.